Hi there, Susan Bach here. Welcome to another edition of Fabulous Feature Friday. I'm delighted you're here today, and you can also join me in welcoming Anza Goodbar, our guest for today. Hi, Anza.
Hey, Susan.
Delighted you're here, my dear.
Oh my gosh, I am so happy to be back.
We just have so much to talk about.
I know.
So before I have to read your introduction because there are some really profound sentences in here that I want to share with our viewers. So I'm going to read your intro and then I have some questions for you. Are you all set?
I'm all set.
Awesome. Here we go. Anza Goodbar is a personal development coach who focuses on self-love. She believes that self-love is at the core of business and personal success. Her philosophy asserts that there is a direct correlation between practicing genuine self-love and leading a wildly happy life based on abundance principles versus living the mediocre life based on scarcity. Boy, can I relate to that. She is highly gifted at influencing people to identify their passion and reach their full potential. Her profound interest in understanding what causes people to feel worthy, visible, and fulfilled gave her the strength to face her personal challenges head-on and create a life and business she loves. Through intensive training and education, she has discovered how to love herself unconditionally, remove the shame of sexual and physical abuse from her story, and inspire others by rising above her own circumstances. She currently guides clients to overcome their fears and transform them inside out so they can develop deeper, more intimate relationships, create higher levels of success, and experience empowerment from the boardroom to the bedroom. Through private coaching, mastermind groups, public speaking, and workshops, she has also offering exclusive couples retreats. So, Anza, welcome, my dear.
Thank you.
Where I would like to start is really where we left off last March. It's been, what, eight months since you and I did our first interview, at which time you were plagued with vertigo, just having come off of losing your voice for weeks, it seems like. So if you would, Anza, please share with the audience the physical trauma that you've experienced in March and leading up to our interview in March that has then catapulted you into where you are today.
Awesome. Well, let me back up a little bit even before that, just to say that when I first started my coaching business, I thought I should be a business coach because I'd been an entrepreneur for years and years. And so it just made sense. That's what I should do. And I was working my tail off and not making any traction. About that time, I joined a 6-week boot camp with a friend of mine who is a coach. And we started digging deep into my belief into myself, my body image, my ability to love myself. And there was a lot of really icky stuff that was coming up in this boot camp. And in January, I went ahead and I joined her 12-month mastermind program. And with the mastermind group, we were going a little bit deeper. And, you know, I felt like I was working my tail off and I was doing all the right things that I would tell all of my clients to do. And I was getting nowhere. And I have a friend here in the Denver area who was speaking, and he invited me to come to his event. And, you know, listening to more mindset stuff all day long, I started feeling physically ill. And by noon, I had the shivers. By 5 o'clock, I had a temperature of 102. My skin hurt, my lungs hurt, breathing was difficult. I had a hour and 15-minute drive home, and I'll tell you, I wasn't sure I was really going to make it home. I came home, I got in a hot, steamy shower, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to sweat it out of me. Went to bed. I slept for 24 hours straight. I was out for the count. When I woke up, I had no voice, and I continued to have no voice for 29 days. I went into the doctor. I had bronchitis, I had croup, I had strep, I had laryngitis. And I was like, what the heck? I mean, I am healthy as a horse most of the time, and I have been known for having massive doses of energy, and I burn the candle at both ends all of the time. And I thought, you know what? I must have just burned the candle too close to the middle. Now, let me tell you, I was so busy and so motivated, I was not practicing any consistent self-care at all. And that really manifested itself in my body. And I continued to listen to the mastermind calls with my coach, and my business really tanked because I had no voice. I couldn't do coaching calls. I couldn't run my own personal mastermind group. My VA actually kept my business afloat from not just totally going, in the dumpster altogether. And I know this is going to sound totally crazy, but while I was sick, I was taking NyQuil. And NyQuil makes me hallucinate and have wild and crazy dreams. So whatever my subconscious mind was processing really came to the forefront while I was sick. And like all of these issues from my past came up that I hadn't thought about in years and years and years. And I even asked my coach, I said, do you think I am manifesting this sickness? It's like, what is it that I'm afraid of that I would make myself so physically ill that I couldn't be that stand-up person in my business and be that visible voice that I so desired to be. So we started, digging in, and she's like, I don't know. There's a bunch of stuff going around. It could be a fluky thing that you just happen to catch it all at once. Or, it could maybe be that you are holding yourself back from somewhere you don't want to go forward. So, we thought about it. I started feeling a little bit better, thinking, okay, I'm going to get right back in, pick up where I left off, zoom, 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 go, 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 rah, rah, rah. And in the middle of the night, I was getting ready to launch a program. The middle of the night before that program launched, I woke up and my room was violently shifting around me. I thought I was falling out of bed. I mean, I literally felt like there was somebody picking up my mattress and just tossing me. And immediately I just knew that it was vertigo because my mother suffers from it and her sister does. And I always thought, what's a little dizziness? Vertigo is not that big of a deal. Well, let me tell you what it was. And I mean, it was like if I even tried to move my head out of a particular position, the dizziness was so intense that it would just cause vomiting. I could hold my head, if people saw, I could hold my head at this position, and that was it. I had vertigo that lasted for about 6 weeks.
Oh my gosh.
I know. I couldn't write on a piece of paper without losing my cookies. It was a horrific time. And, it literally went on for weeks and weeks. I don't think it was even until the first part of May where I really started to feel better. And, again, just purging all of this icky stuff that I'd been holding on inside and realizing, I had a lot of shame in the way my body looked. Being older, hitting menopause, I put on weight, wasn't able to take it off, and just hating the person that I saw in the mirror. My coach and I worked through a lot of that, and she challenged me to do things I never thought I would do. But it really shifted my mindset in my body. And, growing up, my dad used to tell me, and I wasn't a big girl growing up, but I was never thin enough. And it was always, if you weighed just 10 pounds less, you would be so beautiful. And so there was this icky thing that I was holding on to in the back of my mind that, well, I can't be beautiful because look at me now. I have, 5 times 10 pounds that I'm carrying more than I should be, and just being able to really resolve some of that issue to get to the point where I could look at my body with gratitude and appreciation and love. And, looking at, am I doing what I think I should be doing because I'm capable, because I have the skill set? Or am I doing what I'm doing because it's something I'm passionate about and something that I love? And, I really realized that I was coaching business clients because I'm very good in business. I have that skill set. But you know what? It wasn't what really fed my fire. And being able to do a real juxtaposition from where I was and what I was doing and looking at who am I, who do I want to be, what impact do I want to make in the world, and looking at what really fed my passion, what really lit my fire, what really caused me not to be able to sleep at night because I was so excited about what I was doing, turned everything around. And,
As painful as it is for you to share that story, Anza, I feel it coming from your heart, and I know that it will touch the heart of our listeners, because what you just said about doing what we do really well doesn't necessarily mean that that's what we're passionate about. And for so many of people that I coach, it's this physical breakdown, for lack of a better term, that seems to be what is essential for us to have our wake-up call and say, maybe I need to look at things differently or try something different or be open to possibilities instead of so driven that there's just no room to breathe.
Well, it's so true. And, and I have to tell you that as horrible as the first part of my year was in a physical sense, this has been one of the most magnificent years of my life when it comes to personal growth and really embracing who I am and connecting the dots. And I have to tell you that, one of the things that became so clear to me, and I had a VA business for 10 years before I went into coaching. And most of the people hired me more as a business consultant than a VA because they were new entrepreneurs. They needed business systems. They needed protocols. They needed the nuts and bolts. But also when it came to looking at success, as I went through my sickness and looking at why can't I get to that next level? What is stalling me out? When I go back and look at 10 years worth of clients and where they were stuck, Susan, it came down to self-love, self-worth, the belief that they could receive abundance, that they could be happy, wealthy. I had some clients who held themselves back because they were convinced that their family and friends would abandon them if they got rich. And so they just were able to push through that barrier. Was that based in truth? Maybe, maybe not. But that was a hurdle that they just couldn't get beyond. So therefore they felt they were unworthy to rise above whatever that expectation was that their family and friends had set for them. And so, then I start looking in my own life and it was like, you know what? I mean, I wasn't loving myself. I wasn't taking care of myself. I wasn't believing that I was worthy to go ahead and do what I really wanted to do, what I was really passionate about. And once I was able to make that shift in that mindset, my business totally changed.
So what I'm hearing you say, Anza, is making the mindset shift from, I'll say, scarcity or lack of self-worth, shifting into abundance. So talk more about that.
So, I had this huge revelation that we talk about scarcity and abundance when it comes to our money mindset. And I think that's a very normal place for people to hear those terms.
Well, it's easily defined.
It is very easily defined. But I started thinking about, self-love being the center of everything. Success in our business life, success in our bedroom life, and everywhere in between. And so I look at it as being this line that's in the middle. And then all of these abundance traits are above the line and scarcity traits are below the line. And so, if we are practicing self-love, we're feeling confident. We are feeling that we're living an authentic life. If we're not experiencing self-love, we are having doubt. We are feeling sadness. Maybe we're having imposter syndrome. And so, for every emotion, there's an opposite emotion. But, again, abundance and scarcity, self-love, self-loathing, confidence, doubt, being able to be vulnerable versus feeling like you need to wear a mask and cover up, feeling accepted or versus wanting to fit in. Feeling resourceful versus feeling like this is the skill set I have. This is what I have to do. I've got a hammer and a nail. I've got to be a carpenter. That's
Right.
just what I'm going to do. And, not being able to think about learning something new or doing something different.
You've just given me a great tool right there, Anza, with the example of the line. And a question now that I can reflect on is what I'm experiencing, what am my mindset, my behavior, is it above the line or is it below the line? So thank you for that. That's a huge tool, so easy to use.
So easy. And it was, a revelation that just recently came to me, like all of a sudden this makes so much sense that it can boil down to that one thing in our life.
What I found too, Anza, is when I am in this zone that you're now in, and fortunately I've found mine, these revelations just keep coming. We don't even have to pursue it. They just come to us, which is a wonderful sensation, isn't it?
It is. And, it's just a huge energy shift. And it is so true that the things that we focus on come to be. We just start attracting, like you said, that creativity, that momentum starts happening. We're able to take action. We've got so much clarity. It's amazing.
And it's so much easier, isn't it?
Oh, gosh.
I don't work nearly as hard as you were, do you?
No, I don't. And I have so much more fun. So much.
And it shows. It shows. So please give us some examples of how we can increase self-love in a very practical, everyday life.
Everyday life. I have to tell you, one of the most practical ways is to set boundaries. And for women entrepreneurs, that is one of the most difficult things to do because we think we have to do it all ourselves. We think that we have to be available 24/7 for all of our clients, for all of our team members, and we don't have any time for ourselves. And so I think it's really important in our business life and in our personal life to set clear boundaries for your time. And I call it energy management more than time management because that's really what you're doing.
Right.
That is, you're either letting people suck all your energy or you're preserving and protecting your energy. And, it takes a little bit of training, but it's our responsibility to teach people how to treat us, how to love us, how to interact with us. And being able to set boundaries and enforce them, because you can set them all you want, but if you don't enforce them, it's not really changing the game for you. But yeah.
Well, and for me, what you and I've talked about before is that it's one thing to establish the boundaries, which is actually relatively easy to do. The hard part is actually honoring them, respecting them, because if we don't respect them, no one else is going to. So it's twofold. It's creating the boundaries and then it's actually following them and honoring them. And to me, that's part of my self-love.
Yes, it has been for me too. And, for the first time in umpteen years, I set regular business hours and I put my phone on ignore after business hours are over. And I let everybody know that, I take Fridays off. I work Monday through Thursday. I don't respond to clients. That's my family time. That's my time. And I don't let people encroach on it anymore. And I used to think that I had to. And, a part of that was a limiting belief that I had. I was a pregnant teen. I wasn't expected to achieve or do anything. So I always thought I had to work harder. I had to work more. I had to pay more dues or whatever. I had to be available. I had to sacrifice my time in order to be available to achieve success. And, once I was able to come to terms with, what, my backstory doesn't matter. That doesn't mean that I'm less than in any other way. It just means I have a different set of circumstances to my story. I am just as deserving as any other coach out there to work 9 to 5 or to work 3 days a week or to work 5 months a year, whatever it is that is your thing.
Right.
I was reading one of the coaches I follow. She works 5 months out of the year unapologetically. And it's like, you go, girl,
That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, we all are deserving of the life that we want to live, whatever that life looks like for us.
That leads me to my next question, Anza, and that's this, and I'll stumble through this. How do you get to that point and not feel guilty about it? Or do you understand the question? What do you do with the guilt?
So this is my trick, is I believe that my relationship with myself is the greatest love affair of my life. And it's my responsibility to give to myself first before I give to others. And the reason for that is if I am feeding my soul and if my cup is full, I can serve my family and my clients at a higher level than if I'm constantly just giving my energy away and giving it away and squandering it. I'm very particular about how I spend my time and who I spend my time with. And that has taken all of the guilt out of it, because I know how much happier I am when I take care of me first and when I love myself the most. And it has made a huge difference in every relationship in my personal life and in my business life. And people who haven't seen me in a long time, they're like, there is something different about you. What's going on? And it's true, And at first it's like, did you change your hair color? And they're like, no, that's it. Because they're like, you're glowing. You are truly radiant from the inside out. And people will say, I want that. Where'd that come from? And it's like, it's practicing self-love and self-care. And, it sounds like it's so simple, and it sounds like, oh, that doesn't mean anything. Why are you wasting your time on building a business based on self-love? And it's like, because it's really the root of everything. Our happiness, our attitude, our relationships. If you can't love yourself, you can't fully love anyone beyond the love level that you have for yourself. It's totally connected.
And you have gone through such an adventure this year in discovering this and shifting from what you perceived or who you perceived you needed to be into who you are, which, as you said, you're radiant, Anza. You're radiant. That's a beautiful word.
It is.
And I love your expression of from the boardroom to the bedroom, because we seem to think, at least women in particular, seem to think that there's two very different people in those two rooms, when in fact, I think we are all who we are when we show up completely in both of those rooms.
Oh my gosh, you just gave me goosebumps. That is absolutely right. And, I was in a Facebook group the other day, and one of the women posed the question, why do you think that powerful entrepreneurial women have a hard time with their relationship in their bedroom? What's going on? And I'm like, it all has to do with self-love and what you believe you deserve. And for some women, they might believe that they deserve, wealth and success, but they don't believe that they deserve love and tenderness and passion and great sex. And so
I love that. And great sex.
Let's just say it. And that's one of the things that I love about what I'm doing now is we get to talk about that, because it's all about how we show up for ourselves and asking for what we need, for what we want, for what we desire. And it's the same in the boardroom all the way to the bedroom, and there's a lot of ground in between, but it really boils down to, what do we think we deserve?
And speaking of that, what are the conversations we can have with ourselves, Anza, so that we become our biggest cheerleader?
Right. So I am a huge proponent of having an I am list.
Oh.
And so I put on my Superman cape and I get in my Superman stance, and I have a list of things that I am. And I repeat them to myself all the time. And some people in my circle get tired of hearing them, but I never tire of hearing them. And I went to a conference several weeks ago for achievers, for high achievers. And one of the speakers was talking about how important that I am list is. And I was like, awesome. I felt so empowered and so in the know, right? And he said, one of the things is called the RAS, your reticular activation system in your brain. And it is how our brain accesses the things in our subconscious mind. And so the things that we think about are the things that we bring about. And so when we continue to say, I am empowered, I am beautiful, I am worthy, I am a solution seeker, I am a goal achiever, I am a wonderful mother, I'm an incredible wife, I'm a best friend, whatever it is that's on your I am list, the more you repeat that to yourself, the more your brain activates the RAS system and brings that to your mind. And when you do that, you start creating new neural pathways in your brain. And, all of that negative programming never goes away, but it gets pushed further and further and further back in the filing system. So as we continue to repeat it and we start to believe it, then we start to bring about new things in our life. Because if we believe that we're worthy of having love, if we believe that we're worthy to have wealth, if we believe that we're worthy to stand on a big stage and impact people, whatever your thing is, you've got to start saying it. You've got to start believing it. So your brain can then start helping you make decisions to make those things come true. Because our brain doesn't look at things as good or bad, positive or negative. It just looks at it as what it is that you believe. And its job is to help us make decisions to make that belief a reality. And
right.
So you really just have to have really good self-care. And I know you've heard me say this a million times, but you've got to journal it out. Journaling is going to help you see where that negative self-talk comes in, where you're having self-sabotaging behaviors. And if you can't see the trends, you can't start to fix them. You can't look at what is the root of that message. For me, being 10 pounds lighter, I would be beautiful. Well, if I'm not 10 pounds lighter, I can't be beautiful. If I'm 50 pounds heavier, oh my gosh, I need to have my head in a bag, That's just
right.
what our brain does. And so being able to, I haven't erased my dad's words, but I definitely have put them in perspective where they don't have that power. Those words don't determine whether I feel like I'm beautiful or whether I'm not. Because I know that my beauty comes from inside, not from outside. But that wasn't the messaging that I grew up with. And it took a long time to reprogram that messaging. And, to know that there's a whole lot more to me than just my outer appearance. But I think, that's pretty beautiful these days too. So
shifting these limiting beliefs for me is a lifelong journey, because it seems like the more I discover, the more I discover.
yes.
And it starts with just the willingness to be able to look at them. Then that shifts into the awareness, and ultimately through the spectrum into action and your I am example is beautiful. to start reprogramming our thinking and saying those I am statements. What I'm hearing you, Anza, talk about is even if we don't believe it, start saying it, and over time, the belief will in fact take up residence. That's a beautiful example.
Right, it will. And the more you say it, the more willing you're to take a risk and to take action, and then you start to see some momentum, and it creates this synergy where all of a sudden, where you didn't really believe, you start to believe because you're starting to see results and you're starting to see action. And yeah, but you've got to start somewhere, and I think the I am list is a perfect place to start.
It's a great place to start, and as you and I have talked about before, with any change in behavior or attitude that we're going to engage in, the first part is being willing to make the change, to be willing to look at it with honesty and openness, and in the absence of judgment,
right?
Because we're so hard on ourselves. In the absence of that, and say, let's just take a real inventory, an honest inventory without judgment, and then start shifting one thing at a time. And gradually getting to the awesome, unique individual that resides within.
Exactly.
Awesome. Okay, 2 more things. I don't even know where to go next because I'm so excited about this. I know you have a gift for the audience, so I would like you to talk a little bit about that. And also the opportunity I think that you're offering them is also a complimentary breakthrough call. So please talk about both of those things.
Awesome. Well, one of the things that I think is really important is to be able to, like you said, raise awareness to any kind of issue. But I think self-love is such a buzzword right now. Everybody's talking about it, but it's like, what does that mean to you? Because I think it's very individual about what self-love means and where that goes. And so I am offering a complimentary self-love breakthrough call to really be able to sit down and have a quick conversation about, where are you at? Where are you feeling stuck? What words are resonating with you and where you're at and where do you want to be? And being able to put together a down and dirty quick action plan to be able to set the ball in motion, if you will. Figure out some steps just to get you moving forward. And then I also have a free ebook that I would love to share with people too about being able to love yourself. And it's a quick and easy read, and I've got a few little exercises in there as well that I think if self-love is a new concept for you to be able to talk about and implement, it might be able to get that ball rolling and give you some encouragement to jump on the bandwagon.
This has just been so inspiring, Anza. Thank you so much. From a personal perspective, I always learn something when I have a conversation with you. From a business aspect, I feel so inspired by you and for you, because I see you just coming into your beauty and to your essence, and that's a wonderful thing to see.
Thank you. Thank you.
My pleasure. I will post the links for both the call, scheduling a complimentary call with Anza, and also to download her ebook, which I will be downloading. You'll find those links just above the video. And thank you for your authenticity, for your honesty, your openness, your vulnerability. Anza, you've just shared so much with us today, so much of who you are.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks for tuning in. And for this week, thank you for being here. We'll see you next week. Bye for now.
Bye.